We're joined in the studios this morning with former Greenville Police Chief Steve Spano. Former Chief, pull that one a little closer to you. Pull that microphone up good and close.
There we go.
Glad to have you in. I don't know that I can remember a time when we had our two head law enforcement people changing at the same time, but Wesley Holt retiring, and you have now retired from that. So it's a new day in law enforcement in Greene County.
Well, it's sometimes you just have to pass it on, and it was a good time.
Well, so you said you had 32 years of service in.
Yes, sir.
Right? And you had come in once before for an interview on some other items and asked you this, but I want to know again, what got you interested in law enforcement? There was a person in particular that kind of sparked your interest, and I'm sure it's somebody you'd tip your hat to as meaning a lot to you.
Well, there were really three people that kind of led me into it. One was Alton Bradley. I used to go get my hair cut at Bradley's barbershop all the time, and he just mentioned it to me one day, and I was like, I think I may give it a try.
Yeah.
I worked out with Tim Ward and Doug Johnson at the same time up at the old Body by Me, which was up behind Ingalls there on the bypass. Mm-hmm. It's changed several times, but used to work out up there, and at the time Doug Johnson was going through the police academy. He had put himself through, and so between Tim talking to me, Doug talking to me, and Alton talking to me, kind of led me down that path.
Was it wasn't anything that was on your radar before Alton mentioned that?
It really wasn't. I believe at the time I was enrolled at Tusculum College, mm-hmm. and into special education. And I was playing football out there when they started the program back up, and I had tore my knee up during football practice. And during rehab and stuff, a lot of things go through your mind while you don't have any time to do but, just sit there mm-hmm. with a bad knee. So when I got it healthy, all the other stuff kind of transpired during that time of people talking to me and stuff. And I was like, what? Sounds like a route I want to go. I put myself through the police academy on a grant that Clinton had an initiative out at that time when he was trying to hire a lot of law enforcement. And there were only stipulations where you need to try to stay in the job for 3 years. So I think they got their money's worth.
I think so. How did you move up? So you started as a patrolman?
Well, I started on the auxiliary. Harold Humbert. Great man.
Yeah.
You might know him.
I know Harold. Yeah, I remember Harold, yeah.
And he hired me in, and so I worked there for a year and a few months. Mm-hmm. Learned a lot from the men and women that worked there with the Greenville Police Department. They were a world of knowledge. And not only through them, over the years I've learned a lot from officers that's worked at Greene County. Worked with a lot of great men and women from Greene County as well. And the people that, when I went out to Tusculum, I learned a lot from those people.
Did you do every job there is to do with law enforcement? You've been patrol. Have you done detective or investigative work that way?
So, in my career with starting out on the auxiliary for a year, and then I got hired in Tusculum. Mm-hmm. Out there, you had John Dixon and Danny Green in front of me. There were three of us.
Okay.
And then John and Danny both left within a short amount of time. And I was out there running the police department with not very much experience.
So you were maintenance on the vehicles, you were chief detective?
Everything, yes, out there.
Chief patrolman and chief everything.
Tusculum is a great city to work for.
Uh-huh.
They had great people out there. But then when I came into the city, I obviously started as a patrolman. And with the city, I was a patrolman, and then I went to K-9 Patrol. During that time, I was on the SWAT team, and I pulled 21 years with the SWAT team in roles of operator, team leader, and then team commander during those 21 years. But, that's kind of patrol and that stuff goes together. Right. Did K-9 for 12 years total over my years. Was a K-9 officer, and then I was K-9 supervisor, and established the policies and procedures in that. But along with that, as from patrol, I went down to the drug task force and did some undercover work down there for a year or so. And the reason why I came back was for a sergeant promotion. Sat on the desk at that time. It was the sergeant promotion was desk sergeant.
Uh-huh.
So I sat on the desk for a while, and while I was on desk, I was assistant TAC, and then I was the TAC for the department, which is a terminal agency coordinator with the state to be able to use NCIC and stuff like that. Then once we finally went to 911, I was a road sergeant for just a little bit, and then I made road lieutenant. Then I made road captain.
Mm-hmm.
And as I sat on road captain position, the captains got pulled into the office, and they were pulled off the shifts, and they were we did a little bit, there was a restructure. And in there, I was in the office all the time at that point. I wasn't on the road anymore.
Right.
And from there, before Tim Ward left, we switched the captains around to do different jobs so that everybody would kind of understand what everybody else does.
Okay.
So at that point, I went back to detective captain, but I really didn't do much back there other than manage people and get in the way sometimes because I was I always wanted to know.
Was there a point in there when either you decided, I'd kind of like to be chief. I think there are some things that I could bring to this position or to this department, or was there? And I don't want you to betray any discussions with your friends, but was there also hey, Steve, you might be a good candidate for chief if you're interested in taking that path? There had to be some point where being chief became a reality for your future. Yep. That might not have been there before.
When. At first, I wasn't going to apply for chief when Tim decided to leave, mm-hmm. and had some deep discussions with different people. That one of the most important ones really was with my wife. She said, if you want things to change or you want some things changed, the only way you're going to get them changed is if you apply and get the job.
Right.
I couldn't really argue with that.
there you are.
I mean, when you look at common sense, that's correct.
32 years, it's a long time to serve in a position that brings a lot of danger. It brings a lot of seeing the worst of people and people at their worst of times. Yeah. What are some things that stand out in your career? If you look back, there's got to be one or two things. I think you were fortunate not to have lost somebody or a friend in the line of duty like Wesley did with Rick
yes.
Coyle, although you would have been serving when Rick was shot.
I was.
And I don't mean it to sound like that. He certainly would have been a brother-in-law.
Yes, I actually went to the hospital that night, so that still is burning my mind. And I can still remember Ken Carpenter walking out and hugging me.
How'd you find out about it? How did the word
it traveled
spread?
Pretty fast.
Right.
The news did.
Were you working that night?
Yes, I was. So there are a few things that stood out. In law enforcement, people deal with critical incidents a lot more than just the average human being deals with critical incidents. I would say that the average person might deal with 5 critical incidents in their life, mm-hmm. and you may deal with 5 in 1 week. You may deal with 5 in 1 day in law enforcement. You never know. Some of the really bad wrecks that I've seen stand out. And, during my time with the police department, I remember 5 shootings that we were involved with. And not necessarily we did the shooting, but
right.
like where our SWAT team went to one with Gerald down in Hawkins County. We went down to that and helped them deal with that. And then we had Tom Watt Holler, mm-hmm. Kingsport Highway, over on Apple Street, and then the one up at the apartment complex here on the 70 truck route.
Right.
I wound up at all those. And critical incidents in law enforcement can create issues, and I want to tip my hat to the state legislation for finally actually trying to reach out and address some PTSD issues within law enforcement, because military goes and deals with stuff like that all the time, and they have PTSD recognition. But law enforcement deals with it for an extended period of time over their lives, and it never was really addressed. And some of the new things that are coming out now are one of the main things that I really remember, especially when it comes to mental health, because to me, that's one of the most important things when it comes to our people. We need to take care of our people in law enforcement in that standpoint, because it hasn't been done in the past.
The emotions that you have to deal with, and I said this to the sheriff. I'm not at 3:00 in the morning pulling a car over on a dark road, and not, especially nowadays, not knowing what's about to happen. You know things are not in a good place when you had to pull this person over to begin with. So, this rush of adrenaline, and then the afterwards when it kind of wears off, and then you do that again and again. That'd be something hard to lay down at the doorstep when you got home each day.
When you do the job, you go to the academy, you get trained, you continue to be trained at these schools that we can go to. Honestly, a lot of that stuff just seems like the job.
Right.
But I think it takes a special person to be able to do something like that, because not everybody can do it. Not everybody has the ability to pull somebody over. And there were times when I was out at Tusculum, it might be out there on a lonely, dark road, kind of like some of the county officers are a lot.
Right.
And you get out of the car and you see 4 heads in the back of that car. You shut the door twice, so they think 2 people are there. Just whatever little bit you can get above to make them just think. Right. That might create just reactionary gap for you as an officer. Maybe it slows them down to look around if they think they hear the door shut twice. But it does take a different person to be able to do that job.
I imagine at the academy they may go through this in a book, but notifying a family of the death of a loved one, that may be one thing on paper. It's another thing to make that walk up the sidewalk. It's
tough, but I'll tell you what, Danny Ricker has just been a true blessing to our department and just really for the whole county. He really takes care of the officers everywhere in the county, Greene County, Malsheim, Tusculum, the fire departments, highway patrol. He's there. And I don't think people really understand just what the job he really does, just because he loves people and he's doing the Lord's work. So we were blessed to have that gentleman on our side.
How much did you worry as chief daily about the safety of your officers? I mean, you've got the budget you got to deal with. You got your county council you have to deal with. You got to make sure the T's are dotted or T's are crossed and the I's are dotted on this federal form, and you got to put in this requisite. You got to make sure the units are all rolling. But at the end of the day, each time that shift rolls out, or each time you would hear a siren, does your mind go to hope my men and women are safe?
Not just my men and women, but the men and women that work everywhere in law enforcement. I hope they all stay safe. One thing as chief is I wanted people to know that I cared about them, and I think they probably understood that. When I took over as chief, I sat each one down individually and gave them a list of expectations and gave them a list of what they could expect from us as supervision, from what they should expect from their sergeants or lieutenants, the captains, all the way up to chief, and what they should expect from a chief. I care more about my people than anybody. I like to say that. Yeah. I may not be true, but that's the way I saw it, because to me, without good people underneath you, you can't get the job done. But they need to know they have support from the top. But even if my people did something wrong, I'll support them. I'll stand there with them. If we did something wrong, then we're going to own it.
Right.
And I think extreme ownership in this job helps, especially when it comes to being on top and making decisions, because you have to own those decisions. But I think my people understood that they were extremely important to me, along with their families. They were important to me as well, because if they're not having a good family life, then they're not having a good work life. And we wanted both sides to be equal.
Well, my next question was going to be, if you are there to support your officers in that way, who was there to support Steve Spano when he got done at the end of the day and came through the door?
Todd Smith hired me in, and I learned a lot from him as a leader. And he was always there to support me, along with the other people in the city, the department heads and stuff like that, where we had our meeting once, a week. It's always good to see people you get in there and you can get things accomplished. And the support, a lot of support from my home, my wife. She understood that everywhere we go, we're talking to people. I'm talking to people. She hated to go to Walmart with me because a 10-minute trip turned into an hour and 10 minutes. But if somebody from the public wanted to talk about something, I had a hard time just breaking off that, well, I'm not chief right now, I'm not working, because that's not what you're supposed to do. If somebody wants to know something, I tried to let them know.
Well, how many chiefs did you serve under? Could you name them all? I mean, it's a long period of time, and the city had a little bit more turnover naturally, not in a bad way. But who was your first chief?
Charles Kinzer is the one that hired me, and still have a great relationship with him today. I thought he was just a wonderful man, and still do. And then I worked for Lewis Shipley. He was after him, and then Mac Jones, Tim Ward, and me.
All right. Terry Cannon.
Terry Cannon. I'm sorry.
Remember, you forgot Terry Cannon?
Oh, Dad. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to do that. Yep. After Mac came Terry.
So I'm sure you learned something from each of those. They all had different management styles and served different periods of time at different periods of their career. What do you hope the next chief, Josh Pierce, takes away from the time he served under Steve Spano?
Well, a lot of stuff I tried to teach has to do with community service, getting out, understanding people, because without our community, our department's nothing. And that was basically the way I said it. If we don't have support from our community, we're going to live a hard road. And one of the things that I did learn from Terry the most, and I learned it from my father as well, to care about your people. But when they were going to do a K9, and I first got my K9, I'd only been on the job for just a couple years. And Terry fought tooth and nail for me to have that dog because he was my captain at the time. And I told him, I said, I very much appreciate you fighting for me on that, but why did you fight so hard? And he said, because you work for me. I know what kind of job you can do. Having that support from him, and I still have support from him, changed my style of thinking a little bit as well. He fought for his people. He always has fought for his people, and I don't think he'll do any different as a county commissioner either.
I think you're right. As we close, what is it? What do you want people to know and think about law enforcement now that probably doesn't get that national recognition that it does? We're not in a society now that wants to celebrate much of anything. It's a whole lot more fun to get on social media and tear people down for whatever reason. But what do you want people to know about the men and women that serve with the Greenville Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, the TBI, THP, or any law enforcement division?
I think people expect us to be robots, and we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. Mistakes that are made intentionally, those can be dealt with through the court system. But these unintentional mistakes that we make, in law enforcement, you may go from shaking a kid's hand and coloring with them to a critical incident within 30 minutes' time, and then have to go back and deal with a shoplifting and a wreck. And there are so many things out there that an officer deals with in a certain daytime. Know that our emotions are up and down. I hope people just truly understand that we're not robots. We're humans. We do make mistakes. I think the biggest thing we can do is own them and move on.
You enjoying the retirement days?
I am.
Yeah.
I could have stayed a few more years. Obviously, as retiring at 55, I could have stayed as long as I wanted to as chief. But it was time to pass on the baton. Luckily, there at the department, when I would have meetings, I called everybody in. We shut the door, and there was no rank on the table. We discussed what was best for the community and for the department and the town, and that's what we went with. Whether it was what I wanted to do, but we as a group, the captains, assistant chief, and me, we sat down and we would work it out. I could not have gotten anything done at the Greenville Police Department if I hadn't had such a great staff underneath me, just top notch. Everybody, they were tough. if I would bring something up, I'm telling you, they were tough. If they thought that there was a better way to do it,
right.
And I was open minded to a better
Sure.
way of doing it. It's just what I thought. If somebody can show me something else, show me, and I took it.
32 years wearing the badge, Chief Spano. We appreciate your service.
Thank you
for your
very
time.
much.
Former Greenville Police Chief Steve Spano retiring this year after 32 years of service. Our guest in our studios today here on WGRV.